So now we are in the second part of our practical lab. In this lecture, I'll tell you all the variables, their data types, their syntaxes, when they are used, and some constraints about them. So let's get started. First, start with the precompiler line or the precompiler statement, which is pragma solidity. After that, give your contract your name. I'll keep it as variables. Okay, so as you know, there are some basic type of variables and there are some user defined type of variables. So in the basic variables, we have the strings, the ints, the bools, and address. Address is a new data type in this Solidity, which you won't find basically in other programming languages. So we have some user-defined data types such as structs and enums, and we also have something known as mapping, which is mostly like an associative array out there. And we also have arrays also. So now I'm going to show you everything one by one. Let's start with the basic type integer. So in integer, you can have int with a size. So you have all the sizes mentioned out here. The smallest is 8, int 8, or there is also a category of uint, which is the unsigned integer. In this you have everything divided into half. Like for int 8 there are total 256 characters which can be available for us. So like it can be 0 to 255 for the unsigned integer and minus 128 to plus 127 for the normal integer or the signed integer. So let's start it with the uint. So you have to write uint data type, then the visibility, which I'll set to public because we'll get the getter function for this, and then some name like my uint. So now this is done. This is our simple uint, and this will be initialized with 0 automatically. So let's go for a deploy. Okay, we have deployed out here. You have the getter function which has already been created because of the public. Then in the getter you can see 0. You can also declare it over here and initialize together. So you can put 2 out here. So this is done. Then again go for deploy. You can see the value is 2 now. So this was about the uint. So in this you have a lot of categories. So like I've told you about uint 8, there can be up to uint 256. There is possibilities. You can put values like that and data types depending on whatever you need. This is basically done because this is a smaller size. This uint 8 is a smaller size as compared to the uint 256. So the gas consumption will be less for this uint 8 and the gas consumption will be more for the uint 256. So that's why, thinking of the money and the gas cost, we select our data types. So we have uints, we have ints. Next, and the most important thing you should remember about all variables is that all variables are initialized with 0, false, and in the string with a null string. So you should always remember this. Now, there is a problem known as a wraparound. So in this, you know that there is an int which can only there is an unsigned int which can only take from 0 to 255. What will happen if you make this decrement from 0? It won't become minus 1. So then what will happen? So let's see. So we'll construct a very simple function. So I'll talk about the functions later on in this course. Let's start. So the function's basic syntax is function, the name of the function, let's say increment, some arguments out here, then public, the visibility, and you're done. Now you have to just increase the value of this integer. My uint, you can write it as plus plus. The same goes for a decrement function. Just name it as decrement and say minus minus over here, which will reduce it by 1. So now we are done with this. We'll go for a deploy. So now our original int is 2. You can see 2. Now if we increment, you can see it has become 3. Now if you go for decrement, it will become 2, 1, then 0. Now the next time you go for a decrement, there will be a wraparound. You can see this has gone to its maximum value. So this is known as a wraparound. When you are out of the digit you want to have, then it suddenly goes to the maximum range. So after 0, it will not go to -1, it will go directly to 255, which is its maximum range. In case you are using it with a 256, so the maximum number you can see by just decrementing it, and the number is very huge. So you can see over here, let's go for it. 2 decrement, one more decrement, yeah, it is 0, then decrement. See, this is the maximum width of uint 256, that is the maximum range. So anything, if you want to know what is the range, you just do one thing. It will be 0 to 2 power this number. So if you are looking for uint 256, then the range will be from 0 to 2 power 256. So you can remember it like that. So now the next data type I'll be talking about is the bool. Bool is basically a true or a false. So it can take only two values, which is true or false. So let's take this example. Same, the data type, the visibility, and then just name it. And no need to initialize it because it will become as false. Let's go for a deploy. Here it is. So see, you can see false out here. Now we'll just make a simple function for it to change its value. So function name, change val, no parameters needed, and then visibility, public. Now you will change the my bool to true. Now let's see this. We'll go for deploy. Here it is. So now it is false. Now we will call this function change val, called transaction successful. Now it has become true. So this is how simple it is. So now the next data type we'll be talking about is the string data type. So you can go for a string, the visibility, which is public, and then you can call it as mystr. So here is the string, and strings are actually very complex in Solidity because in other programming languages like C, C++, you can very easily index them. It is basically an array of characters, but in this you don't have something like that. So it is basically non-indexable, so no indexing allowed. So let's see and let's try to change it. we'll try to set it. So we'll give a function again, change str, we can name it, no parameters, and then public. Then you can set it as my str equal to, and the value inside it, let's say hello. Now let's deploy it. Okay, so we have it my str out here. Now change str out here. Okay, so hello. Earlier you had seen that there is no string in this string my str, because it was initialized without any string value. So this is how it works. You can also give data or input parameters from this function calls. You can set functions very easily. I'll talk about that in the later lectures.